welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by none other than your two favourite Aussie cinephiles, Ben and Daniel. We'll be coming at you with a cinephile's wet dream, I guess. This time of year, a lot of people get into, the Oscars, the film awards, but it's Saturday currently in Australia, and the Oscars are Monday, and I know I did a reaction to the nominations. I don't think you were there for that. I think you were away, but I guess we want to run through the nominees and I guess give our little prediction on what we think will win and what we think should win. But, should and think might be a different thing just based off what's been awarded and things like that. But bear in mind, I will let you know when we run through, there's probably some films we still haven't seen. As you know, if you're living in Australia, the release schedule can be pretty shit.
Delayed, different.
Pretty shit. So some of these movies haven't even come out in Australia. And then certain categories we might just give you a heads up because we probably haven't seen any of them in terms of like documentary, short and things like that. So we'll run through the main ones of what we have seen, starting with probably the big one, Best Picture. So which I think all of these I've seen. We've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Woman Talking. In terms of what I know,
Jesus,
yeah, great, a great. There's a few there, but great list of films.
Great list of films, definitely.
I know we, running back to obviously our top 10 films of the year, yours was number one. Your favorite film was Avatar: The Way of Water. But
that is correct. Yeah,
that's probably not necessarily meaning it'll win the Best Picture. So. What would you want to win here, but what do you think will win?
So characteristics of Best Picture are just like, I guess, everything great about the whole entire film overall.
Well, yeah, it's just Best Picture of the year, essentially.
Yeah, well, look, for me, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then
yeah.
It had every characteristic of everything that you'd want in a film. It wasn't just like visually gorgeous or well acted. It was everything to encompass. As Avatar is my favorite, but plot wise, it was okay, but everything had everything. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it'll genuinely sweep, and we'll run through the rest of the nominees, but I think it's Everything Everywhere All at Once to lose at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
I know you probably don't stay as up to date with the awards, but it's won like the SAG, the PGA, DGA, like pretty much everything Best Picture wise. It's cleaned up at really. So I think that'll really take it away and win. I think it was just, as you said before, that it's won more awards than Return of the King, becoming the most awarded film of all time.
Which is outrageous.
Which is actually phenomenal, because considering, like, obviously Return of the King isn't exactly an awards film, but you get these films that come out every year that are kind of released and almost pushed by a studio for these kind of things.
Yeah.
Whereas Everything Everywhere came out like March last year. It was just a studio, like A24 releasing it, and it just came out of the blue. Really.
Yeah.
But I think that'll definitely win. Hopefully, anyway. In saying that, we'll move on to actor in a leading role, which is still kind of up in the air. So you've got Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for Banshees, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, Bill Nighy for Living. Now, we haven't seen Living because it only I think it hasn't even come out in Australia yet. I think it might have come out this week actually, but I've seen everything else. I don't think Bill Nighy will be winning anyway. Just because he hasn't won, and you haven't seen Aftersun. Yeah. But it's probably not going to either of those two. As much as I would love Paul Mescal to win, because I'm not even kidding, I genuinely think he's probably the best performance of all these nominees. He won't, just because this is actually his first nomination pretty much across the board of...
It'd be great if he won it then.
Well, across the board of like all the awards leading up to the Oscars, like Golden Globes, he never got nominated and things like that. But what do you think will win here? Because this is an interesting one.
Look, I can only really go based
off the first three, but they're probably the first three to win. Like
they're probably the front runners. Yeah. Look, Brendan Fraser return to Hollywood was actually pretty fantastic, despite how messed up the entire film was. I feel like he did well. Colin Farrell really I think it was one of the reasons that I love Banshees so much, and that it was such like a impactful film for me. And it was just great along the board. But for me, I'm going to go with probably Colin Farrell on this one, I reckon.
I think Austin Butler will win. Only reason in saying that, I don't think he's the best in here. I actually prefer, out of those three, I actually would prefer Farrell to win.
Yeah.
I think it's the better performance of the three. But Austin Butler, I think it's like 10 of the last 16 Oscar nominations have been won by like characters portrayed that are real life. So it's like they love this shit, and it's been Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser have kind of been taking what, like, Austin Butler won the Globes, and then Brendan Fraser's won like certain awards at different sort of award ceremonies. So it's kind of still up in the air, but I do think Austin Butler will win just purely for the fact that they love a biopic. And like he is very good in the film.
He is very good in the film.
So I can't like hate it, but I would prefer to go to Farrell just because I think it's a better performance in my opinion.
Yeah.
Going into other actors, obviously this one's kind of carried by Banshees a little bit, but in supporting role we've got Brendan Gleeson in Banshees, Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway, which we haven't seen, which is like straight to Apple TV, I believe.
Okay.
Judd Hirsch, who was the uncle in The Fabelmans, who was in it for 4 minutes. Barry Keoghan for Banshees, and Ki Hoi Kwan for Everything All at Once. Now, we may as well just say this is going to Ki.
Yeah, I'm not even going to second question that. Yeah.
I think Ki has won literally every Best Supporting Actor nomination he's gotten except for the BAFTAs, which is the British film, like the British, and they gave it to Barry. And that's because it's a British, British film, so they are more aligned with that.
What a return to Hollywood for him. What a return to everything. It was phenomenal. It was great to see him back. 100% hands down. I'm not even going to, like, everyone else was really great. And I did like Barry and Brendan Gleeson's roles within Banshees, but he's...
I think Ki deserves, like, I think he's by far and away. If it wasn't for Ki's performance, I genuinely think Barry would take this. Like, he was phenomenal in Banshees.
He was great.
But I think at the current state in time, Ki, it's definitely in Ki's pocket, basically.
I agree completely.
This one's actually very interesting. Like, as I said in my nomination reaction, this Oscars kind of has me excited because it could go to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, we've went through 3 nominations already that can kind of, or 2 nominations that can kind of go to anyone. But actress in a leading role is probably the most up in the air. You've got Cate Blanchett for Tar.
Yep.
Which we've seen. Anna de Armas, which was a straight-to-Netflix film for Blonde, where she played Marilyn Monroe.
Yep.
I have watched that. Dog shit film, but she's good in it. Andrea Riseborough, to Leslie, which isn't out in Australia yet. We've got Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans, who's the mother of Sammy, and Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere. Now, this is going... A lot of awards have gone to Kate for Tar, and a lot have gone to Michelle for Everything Everywhere.
I was literally about to say that I can't split between the two. For me, Tar was like a very average film, only because it didn't really appeal to myself.
I wanted to respect
Kate
it, yeah.
was fantastic. It was some of the best acting I've ever seen in her entire career. And I love Michelle Yeoh. She's always stands up in nearly everything she's in. So.
I think Cate Blanchett, like, honestly, with that performance, has solidified her spot as probably one of the best working actresses I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that showed a new range.
I think she's been nominated for 8+ Oscars or something ridiculous. Yeah. I'm gonna go with my heart though and just pick Michelle because, like, Kate's won before. Michelle, they kind of like to do these. They really kind of like to do these kind of honorary Oscars where it's like thanks for your service as a career. And I think this is definitely one of them because, like, obviously it's voted, but I think Everything Everywhere will sweep, and it'll help that's probably more aligned with, like, Best Picture. Usually if there's winning more, it's more likely.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't see Tar winning a heap. But I'm going to go Michelle. But look, it could go to anyone. Kate's won. I think they're pretty even, like, in terms of the awards that have been given out off this season. They've both won like 15 or so each. SAG, PGA, DGA.
Yeah.
Who I presume you want Michelle to win because
of course I've always loved everything that she's in, and she's also one of
my
my
But I think
favorite.
you also probably like the movie more.
Yeah, I love the film. Yeah, definitely.
That one I would love Michelle to win, but I'm not going to be angry if Kate wins because I do think it's a phenomenal performance.
Yeah.
The next one is also really interesting because this one's been going to everyone.
Yeah.
We've got Angela Bassett for Black Panther, who she kind of came out of nowhere and won the Golden Globe and has won a few along the way after that. You've got Hong Chow in The Whale, who hasn't really been winning a lot, but she was great, who's obviously the nurse. Kerry Condon in Banshees. And then you've got Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere and Stephanie Hsu, who plays, Jojo Tabaki for Everything Everywhere. This is seriously interesting because Angela Bassett's won a few. Kerry Condon has won a few.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kerry.
And then Jamie Lee Curtis has also won a few, which kind of interests me because it's not like she's some thespian who's, done hard yards of service in Hollywood. She's kind of been an actress for Halloween movies and, done your bit there. Like, it's not like a service like Michelle Yeoh would be.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think Stephanie Hsu is the better performance by far. I would love to see Kerry Condon win it, though. I think she's probably my favourite performance of the 5.
I agree.
In Banshees. In saying that, though, I genuinely think it could probably go to anyone except for Hong Chow, probably.
Yeah, look, Hong Chow, I thought she acted fantastically in the film, but the other 4 definitely separate himself a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't really choose between them. My heart's going with Kerry just because I feel like she really stood up in a film that wasn't directly about her. She really supported that quite well, and the whole aspect of like she was the growth from grief and things like that too. So.
Yeah, for all the characters. Yeah. I think it's either, in my opinion, between Kerry or Jamie. But I would love to see Kerry win, but I wouldn't be mad if any of them won, to be honest. I think they're all great in the film.
Fantastic to all of them.
So I wouldn't have really any issues there. As I said, it's only a few days away. Animated feature film is an interesting one. I think it's pretty much sewn up because it's pretty much all gone to this first film that I'll go through. But you've got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Fantastic.
You've got Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I've seen and absolutely adored it. But I don't think it'll win. Puss in Boots: The Last Witch, which we both absolutely loved. The Sea Beast, which is a Netflix film, which I saw some time ago, but I can't quite remember, which gives you an idea of what that was like.
Yep.
And Turning Red, which we both
I
enjoyed also.
Turning Red too.
I think this is going to Pinocchio.
Yeah, not hands down.
As much as I love Puss in Boots, it's a similar thing. I think any other year that would win, but when you've got a stop motion film like Pinocchio that deals with grief, death, like all of that, and how well it's made and how
He
good
just
the
makes
actual
amazing films.
and how good the film actually is. I think that's the only, as I said, it's a very close award season. I think that is the only nomination, like category, that has not lost. Like Pinocchio's not lost for animated feature. So that gives you an idea of how close it is, but also how dead giveaway that is.
Yeah,
so,
gotcha.
I'm all for that. Next one, we've got cinematography, which is an interesting one because I'm actually going to talk about how the fact that so many films here were snubbed for the films that are released. You've got All Quiet on the Western Front, which is phenomenal. Bardo, False Chronicle of Handful of Truths, which we haven't seen.
I was about to say
Elvis, sure. Empire of Light, which hasn't, I think only just recently came out in Australia, which we haven't seen. And then Tar, which also was beautiful in terms of cinematography.
Correct.
I think the fact that Avatar, Top Gun, and Babylon aren't nominated in here over Elvis and Bardo, even Empire of Light. I've seen like snippets, like I haven't fully seen the film, but I don't care. Those 3 films are possibly some of the biggest snubs I've ever seen.
Yes.
I personally think this is going to All Quiet though.
Yeah.
The as much as I love the cinematography in Tar, like some of the shots and the whole film's just beautiful, I think All Quiet
It was a next level, that's for sure. That's why for me it was one of my top films of the year. It hit so many notes I wasn't expecting it to. It was great. It definitely, for me, I feel like this is it's going to be between Tar and All Quiet, and I think All Quiet's going to cop this one.
Yeah, I think it's the better looking of the films as well, and cinematography usually and war films go hand in hand. Like you've seen 1917 win it recently, and they generally always look beautiful. I think that'll probably win it. The next one's actually interesting as well. It's probably not something that I care about too much, but costume design, which you've got Babylon, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I've seen all them, and then Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which I unfortunately haven't seen. I like the costumes in all of them, but I'm like, It's an interesting one because I really can't really pick a winner here. I do think it'll probably go to Black Panther because sometimes costumes just go to your superhero films where they're really focusing on costumes, and it has kind of done really well. But then Everything Everywhere is also been kind of a hidden force, and it's won a couple over the past couple of weeks for costumes. So
it's a hard one because like, do you go based on like originality or accuracy? Like obviously Elvis and Babylon would be probably fairly accurate to its time, and Babylon was beautiful, but
the costumes in Babylon were unreal.
yeah, but it was very like also periodically accurate too. So
Yeah, it's nothing
I think
over
you're
the
right.
top
I
like
think
Black Panther or everything where it's creative, and that's why I think they might win.
yeah, I agree.
Because Babylon and Elvis are very much true to its time period. So
I'm going to go with Everything just because we're following a pretty similar theme
it's
on the board.
Sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with that. This one I think is a shoe-in for Best Director or Best Directing. You've got Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and then Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness, which is kind of a surprising director nom. I also think Damien Chazelle should be here for Babylon probably instead of
Triangle of Sadness for me.
probably Ruben, yeah. Or even The Fabelmans. I think The Fabelmans was brilliant, but in terms of direction for the Babylon ones, but it wouldn't win anyway. I think it's give it to the Daniels.
Yeah,
In terms of direction, like
I'm big on the top two there. Once again, I got no really extra points to make. For me, they're par on par. And look, if either of those two win, I'm going to be pretty happy. I think you're right. Everything Everywhere will probably sweep along the board, and it'll probably cop this one too.
Well, I think the Daniels have been winning a lot, which makes sense because like it's not just a basic film. Like in terms of the direction, the actual film itself is really well shot, directed. Like it's beautiful.
Agreed.
Which takes us to editing, which is actually an interesting one.
Did you skip one then?
I've skipped like feature film and documentary because like I've seen one of the documentary feature films, which is Fire of Love, and I haven't seen any of the short films, so I can't really make any comment on them. So
yeah, that's fair.
And I presume you probably can't either. So, film editing, we've got The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick.
Oof.
I think it'll be going to Everything Everywhere, but like low key, I could also see Top Gun winning here because it's edited so well and precise. But when I think of Everything Everywhere, I think of those montages and stuff like where they're editing in and out of the different realms and like the editing with the animation and like the different shots. It's so well edited along with the whole film, and I just genuinely think because it's probably going to win everything else that will really probably take the cake. But
I agree. Yeah, it'd be one of those two, 100%. We both have a similar opinion on that, but you're right. Everything's probably going to cop this one again.
Yeah, which I'm all for because it's a brilliant movie. What we'll do, we'll take a quick drink break and we'll come back with the international feature film, which we probably can't chat about too much, but there's a clear winner. But we'll catch you in. I'm sure for you it'll be 1 second. And welcome back. International feature film. I probably can't chat about too much because I've actually seen a few of these, but I think you've probably only seen.
I've only seen All Quiet.
All Quiet on the Western Front. We've got Argentina 1985, Close, which I have seen and I thought that was brilliant, but EO, which I've also seen, and The Quiet Girl, which I've also seen, but I think it's going to All Quiet. And the reason why is it's nominated pretty much in every other category.
Yeah.
So you've obviously got, it's even nominated in Best Picture. It's nominated in cinematography.
It's one of the best international films for myself that I've seen. Is in like top 5 up there. It was phenomenal for me, and I haven't seen the rest, so my judgment's really poor. But All Quiet for me for that one.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty much a given. The next one is interesting, which is makeup and hair. Ooh. Now, the reason I say this is interesting is because it could kind of go a few ways.
Yeah.
You've got All Quiet on the Western Front, which, to be honest, I thought the makeup was brilliant. The Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. Now, I personally think it'll either be between Elvis or The Whale. But the reason I say that is it just depends if they want to give it to a fat suit makeup. Like there's not great makeup in The Whale, but it's just like the fat suit, like obviously is that technically counts as that. But I think Elvis, in terms of hairstyling and makeup, obviously similar as you said with costume, it's a subject of its time, right? And I think it did so well with the hair and obviously even the makeup when you've got Elvis going through the different stages of his life, where he's obviously looking older, he's obviously gaining the weight, things like that.
Yeah, they did that fantastically. For me, the moment I looked at this, I saw between All Quiet and Elvis. I didn't see the whale in it too much. I think mostly because it's hard to judge a movie just based on the fat suit, kind of like what you said. But All Quiet, like some of that stuff was just
even
graphically
when, like,
beautiful.
Like,
yes.
sticks to his fat. Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm going to go All Quiet for this one.
You reckon?
Yeah, just because
You want to switch up?
I feel like I'm going to switch it up.
do a surprise.
Elvis will probably win it, but I'm going to give you
That's
extra
what you
points.
want to win. Yeah, The Whale's just like, generally speaking, the Oscars love to give something to a film which has had like a physical transformation.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason why I say that could win, because like when actors go through, like for instance, I think J. Edgar won it previously where Leonardo was in a fat suit.
Yep.
Vice, which was a recent film with Adam McKay, won it where Christian Bale was in a fat suit. As soon as someone's in a fat suit, it's like Oscar, like, they froth at the mouth. Don't know what I just did. But this one, let's chat. Music original score.
Did Babylon have much original music?
Excuse me?
I'm
The
kidding.
whole thing is... I was about to cancel this podcast. Original score. Now we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. What do you personally prefer of these scores? To be honest, I can't quite remember a few of them, like in terms of the music that rings a bell. But what do you think will win here?
Look, it's a hard one for me because like Babylon was phenomenal, and that is stuck in my head how amazing everything was in that film. But I know I've probably given a lot of extra points to Everything Everywhere All at Once, but also All Quiet on the Western Front is actually probably the one that stands out. Mostly because for me, it's really hard to like portray a lot of those like emotion and the gruesomeness of like that whole environment. And that's one thing that people miss. They're just like, oh, this is war. There is no score there, but it's actually quite epic and it's quite overwhelming too. So for me, it's going to be between Babylon and All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm hoping All Quiet gets it, but I have a good feeling Babylon will because it was next level.
I think like all these scores are great. Everything Everywhere wouldn't surprise me if it did win, and that's just because it's sweeping everything. But I don't think this. Like I thought the score was good, but I don't think it was
doesn't
like the
stand
best
out
thing.
for me.
Yeah. And one thing that annoys me about award shows, whether it be Oscars or even Grammys and things like that, is when someone gets it and people don't agree, they'll go on Twitter, they'll send hate mail, which I don't agree with. But my God, if Babylon fucking loses this, I swear to God, I will send a letter to every voter in the Academy, because that will be the biggest robbery of all time.
Yeah.
Voodoo Mama, go and listen to it right now. It is possibly the best piece of orchestrated score.
I heard you listen to it for about 2 weeks after the movie.
It is phenomenal. All Quiet, I see it between All Quiet, Babylon, and Everything, Everywhere. But I think Babylon by far and away deserves it. I think it's definitely the best score. And I think the thing with all these is that score heightened the movie. Without that score, the movie's not even the same movie, really. Like that is just the most epic.
Yeah, I agree.
Epic score.
Babylon will win. I just want All Quiet to win.
I don't even know if it will win. All Quiet won like best score at the BAFTAs, and it's won a few. Babylon won, I think, at the Globes and things like that. But yeah, it's this year's Oscars excites me because it's everyone's guess. But if this category right here, it'll fucking anger me so much. I'm not even kidding. Like it'll piss me off. But the next one we can probably agree on, which is original song. Now, Applause, never heard of it. From Tell It Like a Woman, I've never heard of the film. Hold My Hand, which is by Lady Gaga for Top Gun Maverick. Lift Me Up, which was Black Panther Wakanda Forever by Rihanna. Natu Natu from RRR. And This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. give it to Natu Natu right now. Like, it's
Yeah,
not even,
good. I'm trying to think of the other ones. I'm like,
I don't.
original.
I
Nothing
don't actually.
stands out. But
Lift Me Up. I remember. Like, that's one at the end.
But Triple R was just like, I tell people about this film because of how beautiful was. That
What, the
whole
dance
scene and song was just
It goes hand in hand,
next
right? Like,
level.
Hold My Hand and Lift Me Up are like kind of the ending credit songs.
Yeah.
Natu Natu, like they do like a film. They do like the original song that's actually takes place within the film.
Yeah.
Generally speaking,
I'm
I
all
don't
for a
actually
Bollywood
remember.
film getting up.
Yeah, I don't actually remember This Is a Life, but I know for a fact that they're performing Natu Natu live, and hopefully they do the dance number. I'll be watching.
Hell yes.
I think it'll go to that anyway. I think that's kind of one everything. The next one is actually very interesting because this probably could go to everything as well, which is production design, which you've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. I think just similar to what you were saying with the makeup, costume, things like that, I think this will probably go to Babylon.
Yeah.
Just product of its time. The whole film is beautiful. It did so well, but I also could see it going to Elvis.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of really good candidates for this, but the periodic stuff is
Stuff usually
period
wins with
pieces
this
are always
because-
just like unreal.
Yeah, and like the one thing I can remember with like think of Babylon is like even that scene where they're filming all the movies in the stage, and there's like this like the production design of that's next level. But I can see some of the text going to Elvis, and I can see potentially that winning. But I really hope Babylon wins.
You know what we just did talk about though? About how like great period pieces are, and if they have to be accurate for it to be great, because people know what the past looks like. There's photos, there's images, people experienced it, but that's why you can get away with things that are like futuristic because you get to make up what you want. And pretty much everything here except Avatar is a period piece. So All Quiet, also a good chance. Everything
It could win. It could win.
Was gruesomely accurate.
Yeah. The only thing I think of is like the actual like All Quiet is extremely accurate, but it's the amount of work that like for instance Babylon or Elvis probably go into in terms of like the production design, set design is a little bit more than obviously All Quiet, where you in a like for instance that film they might be in a forest. It's completely
I was just playing devil's advocate. It's definitely
of
Babylon.
course you were.
It's just gonna be Babylon.
Babylon, you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
The short films I can't really comment on. Next one is sound, which is interesting because they do love war films, they do love action films. You've got All Quiet on the Western Front. You've got Avatar: The Way of Water. You have got The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick. I think
sounds more than just like the music.
Sound mixing, sound editing. It's like if for instance like to make certain noises they might mix. It's all.
Oh damn!
It's not the music. It's the actual sound of the film, and dead set why I think it'll by far and away won't even go anywhere else but Top Gun: Maverick.
Yeah, well, look, if you're looking at sound overall, 100% Top Gun Maverick. There's a lot of great sound editing and design throughout every other film the mixing there. Of like even Avatar was like unreal with some of the stuff that they did. But you're right. If you're looking at a whole film overall sound design, Top Gun's going to probably take the cake.
Yeah, and I would like it too. I would like it to win an Oscar.
Yeah,
an Oscar. The Batman is one film actually that I want to bring up. We just went through score. That score was amazing. It wasn't nominated, which kind of annoyed me. I just realized remember
it. Which may be also why it was not nominated, because maybe people don't remember it.
Well, it did come out in March. So
that does make it harder.
Yeah, it does make it harder that it's nearly a year before. Visual effects. This is really close, this one. Could go anywhere. But the only place it'll be going is to the boardroom of Joe Lederi, Richard Bannerheim, Eric Sandon, and Daniel Barrett for Avatar: The Way of Water. No other film will even come close. I'll run you through the nominees just because. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. All the VFX here are great, but you can't even argue.
Not to discredit any of these other fantastically looking films visually, Avatar's still going to win this.
Yeah, and not even close.
Yeah,
I think it won. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but for instance, there's screen the Producers Guild, Directors Guild, all these the visual effects. I think Avatar won 9 awards at the Visual Effects Awards or something, which is a record amount.
The man like invented technology for visual effects. It's unreal.
But yeah, you like reading, yeah, correct. Now we have got our last two here, which is both writing, but we've got adapted screenplay, which I guess for any of you at home, if you don't know, it essentially means adapted from either like a short movie, book, adapted from an original source, which we have got All Quiet on the Western Front, which is based on a book.
Yep.
Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, which obviously is adapted from the original basically, but Living, which is also a book, that was the one with Bill Nye, which we haven't seen, so we can't really contemplate on that. Top Gun Maverick, and then Women Talking.
I don't think I saw Women Talking.
Women Talking I saw. That was the film, which is based on a true story about the women in the town full of like the church, and the men snuck in and raped them, and then they were talking
the one
about,
you watched recently,
talking about leaving the town. This is I really don't know with this one personally. I think it'll go to Women Talking.
Yeah,
the only reason I say that is because it's a very dialogue heavy film, and it's extremely well written, and it's incredibly like haunting. But to be fair, I think could also go to Top Gun Maverick, because I think in terms of like, it's not very formulaic, but in terms of the right, like it's just such a perfect movie in a way that I wouldn't be surprised if that won. But I do think screenplay-wise, like Women Talking will probably take the cake here.
Yeah, just because I haven't seen it, obviously,
you probably
based
can't,
on
the
three films I have. But one thing that I noticed just from watching a lot more films recently with yourself, and obviously doing these reviews, is a movie. What makes a movie great is not just the acting, it's not just all the design, it's not all the it's the storytelling. It
comes down to the script. It comes down to
once
what's
the
on the
script
page.
is so beautifully written, it helps you design a beautiful film. It gives you all that context, all that characteristics. That's why for me, I see All Quiet on the Western Front. I know I've given it a couple of points each time, but you had to have such good writing to be able to make that quality of film. Even though talking wasn't a major aspect of this, the description of everything that they're going through and the way they portrayed that throughout that experience came down to that writing. So for me, All Quiet on the Western.
No, I agree with you. The film starts and ends with the writing.
Yeah.
And you're only as good as the script. Actors can elevate that for sure and make it a better script, but every film comes down to writing, and that's, I think, genuinely the most important thing about a film.
Yeah.
Which goes to original screenplay, which is a great category.
Yeah.
You've got The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
This is a hard one for me.
This is a hard one. I thought, in terms of originality, I love Triangle of Sadness, but I think this is really between the first two that I went through with Everything Everywhere or The Banshees. The writing in The Banshees, in terms of like the dialogue, is extremely well written, and it's like there's not much else I can really say.
No,
like it is absolutely brilliant, but I do think in terms of originality and the fact that it's probably going to sweep every other award that it can, I think it'll probably go to Everything.
I think you're spot on. It's definitely between the top two. Everything is probably going to take the cake on it, but yeah, the writing in both of them are so phenomenal and have such an emotional impact, which probably in both films no one was expecting. So yeah, props on both. But I think you're right. It was an amazing film. It is going to win a lot of awards, and I do see it.
And I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy about them winning awards, because it's not your average award movie, and I think that'll genuinely make people more interested in like the Academy Awards, because it's, I think, the favorite movie of last year for probably most people who have seen it.
Yeah, it's up there.
And I can genuinely see when they're announcing this award, when they go, here are your nominees, Banshees of Inisherin, when they show the clip and the script or the screenplay, I can already see the bit where they're talking and it's the script where he goes, and you're not nice anymore. And I can see the bit with Everything Everywhere All at Once as well, where he goes, you know, no matter what life, there's one place where I would like to be, and that'd be, doing taxes with you. I can't remember the line exactly, but I can just see those are the short clips that they play entering it. But no, like, to be fair, all the films nominated here are fantastic movies. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's one of my probably, like, there's always films here that you might not have seen, and there's some weird films nominated. But in terms of like year on year, 2022 is probably one of my favorite years of film in quite some time. And if you don't know how, like, for instance, Best Picture works, it's a preferential vote. So the voters are told to vote 1 to 10 on their favorite films. But for instance, if they've not seen one, they can just write 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. They don't have to even put all of them. And what happens is if 50% of the vote is for if number one owns more than 50%, it automatically wins.
Yeah.
But then what essentially happens is the one with the least amount of votes in number one gets rescinded. So their second vote. So if they've voted, for instance, Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking to win, or Triangle of Sadness, and it's got no votes, what'll automatically happen is it'll go to their second vote, which will be Everything Everywhere. And then it basically just keeps going until it's hit 50%. So it essentially just means 50% of the people need to, or more, 50% more need to agree that that's the best picture. So I wouldn't be mad if I went to anything, to be fair, but
no, I'm pretty happy with all of them. For me, the only one that I probably wouldn't give the extra award to is Triangle of Sadness in there, just for myself, personal reasons. But
I'd give that over Tar, though, personally.
Yeah, over Tar. But look, Tar got to give props for, because I didn't enjoy the film that great, but I still talk about how amazing it was, and that's what makes, I think, a great film, and that's why you got to give it the extra props. But look, Everywhere's probably going to cop that still. I know we touched on
it'll be interesting. Well, what comment below. Let us know. That's pretty much all that we'll chat with. Comment below. Let us know what you think will win, what you want to win, what your favourite film is. And it's only 2 days away. And I know we're seeing Dungeons and Dragons that day, but I'm sure we'll release a video judging by our predictions. I'll write down our predictions and go through where we fucked up and where we didn't, and what we did right. And we might do a reaction to what did win, and potentially even cry at Q1's speech, because that was depressing at the Globes. But other than that, comment below, subscribe, let us know what you think, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.